Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening. This is day 12, the final day. Amazing. How quickly has that gone? It's a bit frightening, really, isn't it? 12 days ago, we started this on Boxing Day, the day after Christmas, 26th of December. All fresh from present opening and lots of sherry drinking, maybe, and chocolate eating. Hi, Kath. And then all of a sudden we're here at the end. And of course this 12 days of Christmas has been different to the last two because we only had the 8 star blocks to make. Hi Jackie, hi Maggie. And because we only had the 8 stars to make, we had kind of like fill-in days. And actually the fill-in days were really fun, I thought. Because we learnt about doing, just move over a bit, we learned about doing quilts as you go, and quilting as well, and what sort of designs you could put onto your blocks, whether you're going to quilt them separately or whether you're going to wait till the end and quilt the whole thing. It's not such a big quilt because it's not really a quilt size. It's really kind of half a quilt in a way, but it would make a great it is a quilt in the respect that you've got 3 layers going perhaps to go across the back of your sofa, that type of thing. So it's got potential for lots of things, and I know I was looking at Alison's post earlier to say that she was going to add another row with 2 stars and another row with 3 stars to make it a 5x5, which is about 60 inches square, which is not a bad size at all. And that would sit on top of a double bed, no problem. Or it would drape slightly over a single bed if that's where you want it to be. But what have we learned? I just realised my top is very twisted. I've made it worse now. Yes, so what have we learned from it? I think I've learned as much as you guys. I've learned that I only have 11 sparkly tops and not 12. This is a summer top that I've had to retrieve from the bottom of the wardrobe. But I was determined to go sparkly. And I now have a heap of jumpers and sparkly tops that are going to go into a container and put into storage. So that's what... Apart from lots of other things, that's what I learned. I didn't know if I had 12 sparkly tops, and it seems I kind of have. I'm kind of using this one. And I got sparkly bracelets on, this one, and sparkly necklace. I thought I'm going to go out with a bang. So yes, so like I say, we're down to the last evening, and of course last night we created I created the little mat, which I finished off today and showed you how to do that binding, and I think that was a really good lesson, because you suddenly realise that actually there are other ways of doing things. And I mean, I haven't given this a press yet, so forgive me for that, but there are other ways of doing things, and sometimes these ways are easier, and I think that looks absolutely lovely. So of course that can go under my kettle, so a nice little mat for my kettle, or it could go under my fruit bowl to just brighten up my fruit bowl. It could go in the centre of my table to just put the salt and pepper on, that sort of thing. I have got a little quilt on there at the moment, but even if you make that, it's a lovely little make, and you've got a little memory of something that we all did together, 2024-25. And there's no rules to say that you have to make the whole thing. And I can just reading Pippa's message, I'll come back to that. There's no rules. You can do exactly what you please. You could just sit and watch and not do a thing. That's absolutely fine. It's the community, I think, is the main thing. It's us lot getting together and having chats, and also, you know, being part of that bigger community that we all belong to, and it's great fun. And it's been great company as well. For some people it's been a good company because maybe they haven't got lots of people popping around and wishing them a happy Christmas and a happy New Year. Maybe they've spent a lot of time on their own, and it's important for the rest of us, the mob, to keep them in the chat. Sorry, I've got an itch on my nose. I moved a cushion. I think there's some dust on it. Yes, and it's for us to welcome people into the chat and ask them questions and praise them on stuff and be curious and be kind. And I think that has come out very much so over the last 12 days. So I very much appreciate that, and thank you all very much indeed for your kindness, that you've shown to people. I'm just holding that because it's just a bit more interesting than looking at me. So anyway, if that's all you achieve, then that's absolutely brilliant. And if that's all you can achieve, then that's what you post in the Making It Special group, okay? And I have got a lady, and I must do this actually, I have a lady on YouTube, Donna, who has emailed me a couple of more pictures of the blocks. Her little, I think it was her little girl. How old was she? I think she was about 10. I might be wrong, and I will correct myself. But she's only a little gal, and she made one of the blocks, and it's absolutely beautiful. So I need to post that into the Making It Special group. So it just shows the difference. So, you know, I think what we've learned is all the different types of fabrics we've seen, how they appear, whether they tickle your fancy or whether you think, oh no, because we got the opposites here, really, haven't we? We've got the sort of very Scandi type feel with the reds, and then we've got the real spring feeling with the blues and the greens and the golds here. So it's nice to see that difference in some fabrics, and of course the photos in the Making It Special group have been amazing for that. So I thank you all very much. Right, so I was just going to go back and look at these comments on here, because you've all been commenting and I haven't. Oh, Jan says the sparkly jumpers have been lovely, but I think the one you're wearing today is my favourite. It's actually a summer top, and I have got a black one, but of course I couldn't find it. So I'm wearing the navy blue with black, which no rules, is there? Diana said, hi Lizzie, I've had a busy day, so going to chill out and enjoy watching your cushion demo. Great. Great. I mean, I meant to say that's great. Didn't quite come out as that, did it? Great. Jane says, I made it. WI cancelled due to the snow. Oh, some people have really badly affected, and I am sorry about that. Pat says, good evening, Lizzie. I'm going to make more stars so it's a full quilt. Love your live demos. Oh, you're very welcome, Pat. Sue says, evening, Lizzie. Yes, the binding tutorial was so good. Well, you know, have a little practice. Make just a little square like that and have a little practice. Pippa, I've learned that I really need to get my sewing machine out. It's a good start, Pippa. And do some sewing again. Thank you for the last 12 days. Not been able to watch all of them live. Well, I think, you know, I can forgive anybody for not watching them all. But I've loved it and really appreciate all the effort and preparation, etc. And we must again say thank you to Kath for keeping me on the straight and narrow, making sure that all of the templates which are on the website are read properly. That's not always the case if I do it. Anne says she's definitely going to be using that binding tutorial to do hers, which is good, and it's such a lovely neat finish. It really is. And of course you can, I mean, even though this is just a 12-inch block, you can still quilt it. You still quilt it, make it pretty. You could hand quilt it, that'd be nice. Alison says she's going to hand quilt hers. Alright, let's have a look. Anne says, like someone else mentioned, I'd love an evening's tutorial hand sewing stitches. It's not my strength, Anne, but you know, to be honest, I've probably done more in Creative Friends with hand stitching and that type of thing. Yeah, probably. I don't think I've ever done hand stitching on this page, on my Lizzie Curtis page. Kath says, what a really fantastic series of lives this has been. It's been so kind of you, Lizzie, to dedicate all this time to us. Oh, you're very welcome, Kath. And thank you very much for helping me. And it's never one person, is it? Because after last night's, I mean, I'm assuming I'm in sync tonight with my voice. But after last night's, I just downloaded it onto my hard drive for John, and he edited it for half an hour or so and made the words fit the voice. But, you know, the mouth fit the words, which is quite a delicate operation. He works on a special piece of editing software, and so thanks to John for keeping me sorted with the old filming. Yes, I am in sync. Well, thank goodness for that. But actually, he quite enjoyed it because we haven't filmed things for a little bit of time now. He quite enjoyed it because he was having to remember how to do stuff, and yeah, he was a lot of furrowed brow going on. But he did a cracking job, which I'm very, very grateful for. And then there's our Kath, who's helped me edit. My girls for looking at the stars and saying, yes, Mum, that'll do fine. When I've said for the umpteenth time, do you think this will be this? Do you want to? What about, you know? Should I? All of that, and they're like, yes, get on with it. Well, you know, you've got to rely on people. Anyway, so thank you all anyway for taking part and being part of the gang for 12 days. You didn't have to be, and you never have to tell me, because I don't do a head count. I think I go crackers. I'm just lovely that you join in when you can. That's the best thing. And just do as much as you can and take away from it as much as you need. I think that's all I would say about that. So so we made that block, star 8. I was so tempted to put it in the quilt behind me. You know, I've got 2 extra rows going on with this quilt. And I was so tempted because it's such a pretty block. Let me just show you it again. There we go. So I've got all my gubbins here. The one thing I don't want to lose is my zip slider, which I'll put over here. Yeah, but it's such a pretty block. I've got my strips cut, pinned to it, ready, because one of these is a different size, and I didn't want to get them muddled up. So, ooh, big plane going over. Yes, it's such a pretty block, and when I trimmed that this morning, I trimmed such a slither off it. It made my heart sing. It really did. And I think it's turned out really well. So I was really tempted to replace one of the ones in the quilt behind me with this, but it's too late. I've decided I'm going to use it as the cushion front, and that will be just as gorgeous on the sofa. I might not put it on the sofa because Millie is, at the moment, the dog, is getting filthy with our walks, and quite honestly, everything is now mucky. The quilts, I've washed my quilts on the sofa, and they're now covered in marks from her paws and everything, and all the cushions are all mucky. So I don't really want her to muck this up for a bit. After about 6 months, I think I'd let her muck it up. But while it's still fresh and new, I don't want her to do that. So I'll put it somewhere, I don't know where. So so this is the block, and we're going to extend it. I'm going to put borders on it, and I think what I'm going to do is I will take these off because I really want. No, I'm not thinking straight. I will put those back on again. I was just thinking, I want to put my H640 on the back of this because it makes it a bit more puffy when you feel it. You can use 80/20 if you want, but ideally you're going to quilt that to keep the layers together. But with H640, as you know, it's going to glue it, so we don't need to worry about that. So to sort of cut a long story short, excuse me, I am sorry, but I do have a throat which irritates me constantly. Just a sec. Sorry I had to swig that in front of you. So, I'm so sorry. So I've added 2.5 inches to both sides. I need a sweet really. So I've got, it's side to side. Normally you would do top and bottom, right? Well, I would. But I've got my 12.5 inch blocks on the sides, okay? Here and here, here and here, okay? And then I've got a longer piece, it's not pinned properly yet, but I've got a longer piece that's going to go across the top, like your bridge, isn't it? So once that's stitched on, hopefully I've cut enough, and it's going to be stitched right across. So this is longer, and I think, is it from memory? I think it's 16.5 inches. But I'll measure it once I've done it, because it's 12, then 2, and so that's 16.5, yeah. I'm still sticking to a 1/4 inch seam allowance, but I'm doing something different on the bottom one. So on the bottom one, I've cut, again, I think that, I'm sure it's 16.5, but I've made this just slightly wider at 2 3/4, but you could make it 3 if you want to. Because I'm putting a zip in, I want more seam allowance than 1/4 inch, okay? So I've made sure that I've really got 1/2 inch to put the zip in, okay? And the backing is I'm going to say it too big, right? The backing is too big, and there's a reason for that. And I think I've cut it at 17 or 17.5, so it will fit nicely with a bit sticking over the edge, which is exactly how I want it to be, because I'm going to use my overlocker, which you'll be pleased to hear. I always, or nearly always, stitch my cushions together with my overlocker, because it makes such a wonderfully strong seam, and my cushions really go through the mill with a dog. They would be in shreds in 5 minutes if I didn't use the overlocker. So what I'm going to do, so I'll remind you of the measurements again as I go, but I need to get my machine in, and it's right off the end of my desk, so I need to really pull it in. Let's have a bear with everybody. And well, let's just go on the side camera for a bit. So I want you to remember that the block is 12.5 inches. It's exactly 12.5 inches. I'm going to take this one off the top, because that just is going to confuse. And I've got 2 pins on the one at the bottom, so I know that's the big piece. And I'll take it off, but I'll put the 2 pins back in. And that saves me getting my tape out again to measure, or my ruler. Yes, you could, Julie. Get it out of the cupboard. I haven't used mine for a bit, so I hope it works okay. It's a baby lock one, so it should be perfectly fine, but you know, these things are temperamental. So I'm going to put the sides on. So the sides are 12.5 inches by 2.5, okay, and that gives us a bigger cushion. It will give us a 16-inch cushion, well, thereabouts. Depends on how good you are with your seams and all of that malarkey. So I'm going to stitch that from top to bottom on both sides, and then we'll give it an iron. And let me just put that down, straighten that up a bit. There we go. And then we're going to go all the way down, like I say, and we're going to put this border on. And I meant to say last night, and I'll say it now instead, with the quilt, I think it was a 2-inch border, and I meant to look that up and I forgot, but I think it's a 2-inch border, so you'd have to cut a 2.5-inch strip for that. And of course, if you want to add more fabric, you know, and do 2 or 3 borders around, then of course you can, and it will look absolutely gorgeous. So there's our first border. So I'm just going to whip that around and line up the edges again. So we're doing right sides together, and then we're just going to stitch that side. I think I've lost my tickle. It's one of those things, isn't it? You know it's going to happen. Right, so all the way up. And we'll give that a little press so it sits nicely. And I mean, instead of using a zip, because I thought, you know, let's push the boat out and let's do a demonstration with a zip. It might be something that you're a little bit wary of. You shouldn't be, because your machines are geared to put zips in. You know, your zipper foot, moving the needle if you need to. You know, they're perfect for putting a zip in. Looks nice, doesn't it, with the darker fabric? You can use what you like. You can choose something different, completely different out of your stash. Yeah, so you should never really be afraid of putting a zip in. And as I say, I know some people are anxious, and I get that, but there's no need to be. Right, so we've got our sides on. So now what I want to do, do you know, it looks a little bit like a maple leaf, doesn't it? So now, fingers crossed, phew. It's absolutely perfect. I actually did some measuring and used maths and everything. So I would now pin this, because this is a bit of a bigger piece. So I'm going to match up the ends, and I'm pretty sure, well no, I know for a fact that it's 2.5 by 16.5. Okay. And I've pinned it so it's not going to wriggle, and I'm just going to stitch all the way along the top there. Oh, I do too, Jan. Yes, cushions do look neater when you've overlocked. I mean, obviously it strengthens them no end. It really does. And when you're pushing and pulling and putting a cushion pad inside, then, and if you're in the States, we're talking about a pillow. You know, the seams are very vulnerable. So to overlock is brilliant. And of course, if you don't have an overlocker, then use a wide zigzag. You know, give it a little bit of love. And don't trim the corners. I know you would be tempted, but don't trim, because again that gives it weakness. Just as you push the pillow pad in, the cushion pad in, you know what'll happen, you'll pop those corners, and that's so annoying. So annoying. Yeah, so just being careful, really, isn't it? Okay, so let's get that sorted, and we'll have a look and see what that looks like. Oh, I just love this fabric. When Kath was saying today, oh yes, I've got my fabric for the quilt. Oh, I said, how lovely. Well, it was sort of a team effort we were talking. Yes, she said it's Hoffman. I saw smashing, and she said it is a batik. So I said, oh yeah, that'd be super, because then you know you don't have to worry about it single sided and all of that. And she said, well, it's not the same colour. Oh, I said, well, that's okay. That's good. You know, it's good to have something different. And she said, it's not the same design. Oh, I said, it's completely different then. Honestly, that looks really nice, doesn't it? I love that. I love that effect of that cream just popping out of there. So now we have the long side, the bottom long side, and this is the one that's 16.5 by 2 3/4, but you could make it 3. I do like a nice wide seam if I'm putting a zip in, especially the way I'm going to do it. So let's pin it in place. So start off obviously at one end and try and get it so your pin heads stick out of your work, and that means it's really easy to take them out when as you're stitching. So pin there, pinned at this corner here. Now I would pin this one, and that way you can ease the rest in, because it's the exact measurement that you want. So it's 16.5 inches. I don't want that to change. So you're going to ease that in. You're not stretching it, you're just easing it. Now this time we're going to do a seam allowance of 1/2 inch. Again, to be honest, I prefer it to be 3/4 inch, but that's why I said you could cut this at 3 inches wide. But we're going to do a 1/2 inch seam. I mean, if you've got a gauge on your machine that is 5/8, I would go for the 5/8. But I'll stick to my measurements. So I'm doing a 1/2 inch, which should be plenty. So let's just bring the machine in. So don't forget that bottom edge, we're doing a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to kind of guesstimate it. And I'm stitching in cream because that's what is in my machine. Now I've just made a big mistake. That seam is not 1/2 inch. I've just told you a big fat lie. 1/4 inch, and the reason for that is it's 1/2 inch when we put the zip in. When we do the bottom seam to put the zip in, then it's 1/2 inch. So I do apologise. I've just told you such a lie. I can't believe it. All right, an error of judgment. Well, I think after 12 days I'm allowed. Yeah, sorry. So the joining seam that I'm doing now is 1/4 inch, not 1/2 inch. For goodness sake, stop listening to me. I was ahead of myself. Without me even knowing I was ahead of myself. Honestly, I can't get the staff. I think I must be D-mob happy. This block is looking a little like the Canadian maple leaf in the red. That's what I said, Helena. I can't believe it. Now, just to make sure that I don't get this muddled up with the other seams, because obviously we've got a star that's the same all the way round, I'm going to put a pin in for the moment. Okay, so I know that this is the bottom piece. Honestly, can't get... as I say, you can't get the staff. Right, yeah, it does. That's what I said, Helena. And oh, Helena gave me some gorgeous, gorgeous fabric from Canada, and it has the all the things associated with Canada. I haven't got it handy, otherwise I could show you. When Helena came to visit in the autumn, it's about Halloween, wasn't it, Helena? And we met up for a coffee, and she gave me the most gorgeous fabric. So I've got a nice little project in mind for that, but it's had to go on a back burner for a little while. Okay, so that's the whole thing now with a border on, and the only thing that's different to everything else is that this is the bottom seam. This is the bottom piece, I should say, that the zip is going into, because it's just that little bit wider, because I need that for the seam allowance. Okay, so now what I want to do is to get my, I want to do the H640 before I forget, which, you know, let's face it, this happens, this does happen. Now when I looked at my H640, I have got a boatload of H640, but I couldn't, I just had to go into my, I want to move this really, let me put it over here. I went into my room to get it, and then I realised what the time was and I had to come out, so I've got to piece it, which is that's not going to be quite right. So I've got to piece it, and I've got a little trick for you for piecing, so it's probably a good thing to show you. So I've got enough to do, oh, I suppose about, oh crikey, about, how much would you say? Let's have a look. See, I've just got a little strip to do along the top there. Okay, and I've got a spare bit. So glue side up, glue side up. So if you feel it, it's rough. And we don't go from the back, we press from the front. So just take our time with it. Try not to get your iron, if you've got it like me, try not to get your iron on the glue, because that would be annoying. You want it on a decent heat. And if you've got a big household iron, then use that. But try and get that all stuck down. I'm just going right up to the edge. Pretty confident that that's stuck. It doesn't. The H640 doesn't take long to stick, and it's quite a nice weight of fusible interfacing, fusible wadding, and it just gives the front of the cushion a bit of puffy. Viv says, "Oh, Kath, I know. What's she like?" It's going to look beautiful. Kath does the most amazingly neat work, and Nicola does as well. They really do. Right, so I think that's glued on. So if we switch it over, now you know we're not, it's a bit, you know, because it's a rough old bit that I've got there, which is fine because we all have scraps, don't we? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this piece to fit. So glue side down, and I'm just going to kind of butt it up, and you'll notice that, look, honestly I couldn't make it up, so I'm going to have two little bits there. For the time being I'm just going to cut, you sort of trim it away, and to be honest, if you weren't watching I would miss that bit out because that's going to be in the seam of the cushion, so you know, but as you're watching I better do a bit. And I always make it a little bit bigger if I'm piecing. So again, as I said, you're not going to put your iron on that. You do need to glue it, but I've got a way we can get round it. Now I meant to bring my pressing cloth over and I completely forgot. So I've got that little bit there, but I'll worry about that when I come to it. So I'm just butting those edges up. I could do with my bigger ironing mat, but we'll do. So I'm butting those together and I'm getting a product, it's like a tape and it's got glue on the back, okay? And I'm just going to very carefully, with the nose of my iron, just try and get that attached. If I put my, well, I suppose I could put my cloth over the top. And let's try it. So use your pressing cloth, don't use your best piece of batik. And that tape will hold all of that together really nicely. Yeah, that's completely glued that. So there's no wriggle room at all. So if I cut that off there, and we'll butt that piece up there, get a nice straight edge. Notice I didn't trim my threads. Oof. Right, and then I need just a little bit more. And this is now permanent. It won't wash off. I think I've got that the right way. It feels rough one side, yeah. And then it's just a great way of using up scraps. I mean, I wouldn't do a whole quilt like this, but just for this little cushion, it's ideal. Absolutely ideal. Okay. So that, look, that's all now glued together beautifully. And now I've got one piece that just needs a little, because I'm off the edge of my ironing mat there. So now all we need to do is just to secure that. And we'll trim that back. And even that little piece will catch. I'm going to turn that down a bit, it's ferocious. So just keep your eye on it, you do want it to stick. What tape is it? Whoa. Somebody will tell me the name of it. But it is tape for joining wadding. It will have a name like batting tape or something like that. Somebody might know the proper name. because obviously you know I can't remember a blooming thing these days. And I'm pretty sure I got it off Amazon. Right, so I'm just going to trim that. I'm going to stand up and trim it, just with my scissors. Because when this goes under the overlocker, it just... Anybody remember what the tape's called? I might even have it in my Amazon shop. It's good stuff though, and I've had that for years. That's why I can't remember probably. And I never seem to run out of it, and I've used it for lots of different things. Yeah, super job. Really, really handy to have it, and then you can, like I say, you can use your scraps. Yes, Karen, 2.5 apart from the bottom one. The bottom one is 2 3/4. Right, so that is now, I'm a bit zoomed in, but you can't see it if I just can't see the detail. So look, it's just one piece now. That is completely and utterly glued on there. So it's, yeah, why not? Heat and press, is it, Helena? Heat press? Yeah, I think you're probably right there. Okay, so now we need to put our zip in. So I'm going to get, you know, even though this is a little bit bigger, I want to get a straight edge on this, that one. I'm going to put right sides together. Yeah, this just overhangs by a little bit. It'll overhang more on the top probably. But anyway, so we're doing right sides together. And I have, this is my bottom edge. Look, there's my pin. So we know that's the bottom edge. I'll put a pin in there so we can see it. So I'm going to do a really generous 1/2 inch seam all the way across the bottom here, okay? But I've lined up the raw edges, even though the other part of it is just hanging over by a smidge. That's intentional. But all the way along I'm going to do a 1/2 inch seam, okay? And then I'm going to press it, and then I'm going to unpick it. And I wish I had red thread in, but at least you'll see it with the cream thread. So put my stitch back to normal. I'm going to put my stitch length up a little bit. I'm going to put it up to 2.8. But I want the seam that I leave behind, because you'll see in a minute what I'm talking about. I want that to be strong. So don't forget, we're doing a good generous 1/2 inch, and I'm going to do a back stitch just to secure. And then I think what I'm going to do, because I'm just thinking off the top of my head here, I get one of my chalk pens. And there's a reason why I'm doing this and faffing about, is that I'm going to measure in, I don't know, 2.5 inches, let's say. Let's go for, oh, trust me to pick up the one that's not been sharpened. So I'm going to come in, let's say 2 inches. 2 inches is good. And then I'm going to mark my fabric at 2 inches. Look, you can see that. And then I'm going to do the same at the other side. So I'm going to measure 2 inches. It's just a guide really. You don't have to be so pedantic about that. But you want to have some idea of where you're going to do another back stitch basically. So I'm coming along, and where my chalk mark is, I'm going to do a back stitch to make that really strong, okay? And you'll think, what on earth is she doing? And then I'm just going to come all the way along. You might want to put more pins in if you want. So I'm just getting to my chalk mark here at this side of the cushion, and I'm going to do come forward a bit, and then I'm going to back stitch, and then I'm going to finish off my seam, and I'll do a little back stitch there as well. Okay. So now we need to press that seam open. So let me just get rid of the machine and get my cushion. So don't forget, we've done right sides together. So both of our pieces are joined now. There's my seam along here, okay, and this is the bottom of the cushion, because that's where we're putting the zip in. We're not putting a zip in the side or anything like that. We're doing it at the bottom. You'll find that you won't see it as much. So if you're not confident with zips, this is going to help you. So open up the seam. Now just be careful of your wadding, because that's synthetic polyester and it will melt before your very eyes. So just keep your iron away from that polyester wadding, okay? I caught it a bit there, look, it's because I'm doing this at a funny angle. Don't worry that, oh, that needs a little press there, just a sec. Just one moment, caller. Let me just use my bit of fabric here. Just come undone a little bit at the top there. Right, so just be careful, as I say, you might want to put a protective piece of fabric, you know, if you've got a pressing cloth, that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, right, that will do. So now we've opened up our seam, what we're going to do now is we're going to rip that seam open. So find your quick unpick, and I want you to find where you've done a back stitch, where it's nice and strong. So that's here. I've got my chalk mark just there, look. So I'm just going to go into my work there. Now ideally you're going to put the ball point on the bottom and your pointy bit, your sharp bit, at the top. And you might get to a point where you can't get any further because of all the stitches. So just stop, take those threads out and just carry on along there. You take your time. You don't get prizes for going 50 miles an hour with your quick unpick. And try and get, you'll feel it. You'll feel it at kind of the blade of your quick unpick will grab the threads, okay? So again, I'm just going to check at the top here. So my mark is there, you see? So I'm just going to unpick to there. In fact, I'm pretty much there. I'm not going to do any more. I want a nice strong seam there. Okay, so we're ready to put the zip in. Now the reason why I cut that open is because I want to put the zip in a little bit of a different way. So just pulling all those threads out. Let's find my scissors. Okay. Just try and neaten that up a little bit. Okay, good, lovely. So again, you might want to press this with your steam iron. You really do need a sharp edge for this to work nicely. So I'm just going to spend a moment pressing that, and I think I've got my best press, which will help no end. And we're going to press that beautifully. First of all, the best press will give us a lovely crispy fabric, but also a nice crispy edge, because the H640 could possibly make your seam puffy, you know, thick, puffy. So we want to try and flatten that out as much as we can. We don't want to ruin the puffiness, but you want it a fairly sharp edge. It'll help you no end. Okay, that'll do fine. So on this side of the cushion, there's where we're going to put the zip in. We want to get really, really close to the teeth of the zip. We don't want to overlap it, and I'll zoom in for when I do this bit, but we want to really butt that sharp edge, this is the backing, against the zip, okay? So I've got my zip. I always use zip on a roll, so I'm going to cut it too big and then I can trim it back. I've got a slider, so let's get in a bit closer for this action. Okay, and so I've cut it so it's not 16.5 inches, it's probably 15.5 inches, because don't forget, we don't want to put the zip. Oh, where's my slider gone? Oh no, oh there it is. Okay, I'll put it on my mat so I don't lose it. Yeah, because we don't want to go beyond where we've unpicked. So my zip will tuck under there nicely, and then I'll just trim it back when I've finished, okay? But I do need to put the zip slider on. I can't seem to find anything this evening. Oh, excuse me again. So just slip a bit away, tidy up your ends. And I know some of you have difficulty with this, and I'm not suggesting for a minute that you have to use zips on a roll. Just use a commercial zip. You need, I don't know, about 14 inches. So you're going to put it on one side. There we go. Just slides on nicely. Excuse me. And then the other side just goes in. Get hold of the ends and just give them a pull. There, like that. And I would, do you see how that is buckled? Only because I wasn't caring too much about how I put it in. But you do really want to open that up. So right down to the bottom. So it lies nice and flat, okay? And yeah, so you're nice and... Now, unfortunately, as I said, I don't have any red thread in my machine. I'm not bothered about that. But if I'm going to do top stitching with my zip. So you're not going to use cream thread. You're going to use red thread if that's the colours that you're using. So we need it to be accurate. So practice, Zoe. Do practice. Because it's very easy once you've got it. Once you've done it once and you've had success, it really is quite easy. So obviously the zip's going to go in on the other side, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some tape, some double-sided tape, because it always helps, doesn't it? It depends how gung-ho you are. I can be very gung-ho. I've got to get rid of some of this because it's dried out, and even though I kept it in a bag that our Jackie Thomas told me I must, it still loses its sticky. Mind you, this is probably about 3 years old. So I'm putting the tape not right up to the teeth. Okay, I'm not putting it right up to the teeth. Let's get that slider right out of the way here. And I'm going to show you, don't really want the glue showing, all right? So let me just snip that away. Let me lift it up. Oop. Can you see where that tape is? It's about maybe a mil away from the teeth, and we're just going to take the tape off. You can see the sticky now, yeah? And that's going to go underneath. So I'm going to, it's a bit cack-handed, but I'm going to go underneath and slide my zip along. Line it up. I'm not too bothered about the zip being the correct length, because that's not the idea of it. But I'm just going to put the first bit down. So I want you to have a quick look. Try and get that out of the way. I'll pin it back if I can. There. So I've just laid a little bit down, so I know it's exactly where I want it to be. And then I'm placing the rest of it. I'm just following that along and going right to the end of where I stopped stitching. So you know the where we did the back stitch, and the slider is under there, and I shall move it eventually, but for the moment that can stay there. So you can see that that material is now stuck exactly where the tape is, and then I'll do the same this end here as well. So just sort of work your way along. Hold on, let's get that. It's a little bit wonky, so let's just peel that back up. That's the great thing about the tape. I mean, you could actually use glue, you know, wet glue. Now, do you see where you can see my stitches? If you've used correct coloured thread, you won't see that, and then you can always trim it away. So I suppose in one respect it's a good thing. What I'll have to do tomorrow is unpick the whole lot and do it in red. But you wouldn't have seen it otherwise. So let's get that so it's sitting nicely. There we are. So that zip is under there. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stitch this half on, okay? We're just going to go from top to bottom, and we're going to get our zipper foot on our machine. Now, don't be afraid of these things. I think unless you do it, you'll always be afraid of it. So you have got to kind of do it, I'm afraid. I can't help you with that. I can't do it for you. You've got to do it yourself. Now, sorry about that, but you have. Okay. Right, I've put my zipper foot on, and I've got it so my needle is on the right hand side, because I'm going to stitch on the right, sorry, to the left of the zipper teeth. So if I bring this under, this 640 will catch on my feed dogs. My feed dogs are super sharp. Okay, what's happened to my computer? Just a second. Oh, how strange. Oh no, I see what I've done. Right. Oh, what's this? Dawn, if you put a baby wipe in the bag with the tape, stops the tape from drying out, Lizzie. Whoa! What a fantastic tip that is. Fantastic, thank you very much for that, Dawn. Super. Right, so make sure your zip's flat, make sure everything is in the correct position. I kind of wish I'd gone in from the other end now, but that's where my zip slider is, but there we are. And I'm going to lower my feed dogs, lower my presser foot, and I'm going to stitch. Now I want to stitch fairly close to the edge of my fabric. Just bear with me a second. Okay. So if I was to lift this piece up, okay, so you can see my zip, and I'm going to stitch fairly near to the edge of that crease, okay? I'll do it and then I'll show you, because that's probably the easiest thing, because unless you're standing over my shoulder you don't stand a chance. Okay, so I'm just going to carefully make my way down, and I would look at your zipper foot, perhaps not your needle. So when you're feeling confident, look at the foot of your zipper foot. Sorry, I'm concentrating. Oh dear. What time is it? Well, we might overrun by a bit, guys. So too much chat again. If I was just one of these demonstrators that got on with it, we'd have been done by now. But I do like to show every single step as best I can. Now, you could do a little back stitch here if you want to, but don't be too gung-ho about it, because you don't want it to look ugly. But you could leave the threads long and take the threads through to the back and tie them off. Okay, so let's have a look. Let's have a look. So look, you can see how I've stitched. Okay, I'll bring it right in. So you can see the zip, and you can see how near I am. So you don't want too near the teeth because it'll snag on the slider. You got to chat. Well, exactly. Right, so then what we've got, if I can just move you again, is we've put in 1/2 of the zip, okay? You can see that's where it sits. Let's open that up. There it is underneath there. Beautiful. Of course you do it in red. But now what you've got is the other half now kind of, it sits over the zipper teeth. And so it's actually a technique you'd use for dressmaking, really. If you're making a dress or a skirt, you'd perhaps put a zip in like this, but it's quite nice on a cushion cover. And if you do it on, if you do the hanging over bit on the front, then when your cushion is on the sofa, you won't see the zip. If you do it the other way around, so this bit is on the front, then you're very well probably going to see the zip. So I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to put tape along the bottom of my fabric there. And I'm just eyeing that up just to see if that's going to be okay. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. I might have to put, because I would have liked to have done a wider seam there, so maybe 3 inches is better, but we'll see how we get on. You don't have to do a massive hangover, if you like. It's the piece that comes over the top of your zip. It doesn't have to be massive, but just enough for it to look decorative. So I've got my tape and I've put it right to the raw edge of the other side, yeah, which is the front. And I'm just going to peel that off, so give it that a squidge so the glue attaches. And then I'm just going to let it kind of go naturally on there. I don't know if that's naturally gone on there or not. Let's have a quick look. I'm just going to move my slider before I do anything. Where is it? Let me just get it. Whoops. Move that along. Okay. Right. So, yeah, so here we are. We need to just get that lined up. So just get your... You're going to have to watch it when you get to the slider, okay? So I'm just putting that over. So that's sitting nice and naturally now. You don't want it to be twisted in any way. So I've pushed that down, and then I might have to move that a little bit because the glue is going on the teeth, but we'll live with it for the moment. But yeah, just make sure that the glue tape doesn't go onto the teeth. But now we can come here and we can do a piece that comes up, and then a piece that comes, our stitching going along here. So it doesn't have to be massive, but just enough to make a difference. So you could just mark it there, and your zipper foot will sit nicely. I'm going to move that tape because that's just not going to do its thing that I want it to do. So let's just take that off. And I'm going to put another piece on. I'm going to just take it over the raw edge a little bit. That's it. Right, so I'm going to take it just over the top of that, and that should then be okay. I mean, you don't have to use tape. I mean, it's, you know, I'm using it so you can see that it is very useful to have the tape, but it's not 100% necessary. Okay, that should be better now. Just flip that over, let it find its natural place. Hold on. Get off tape, that's it. So I'm going to flip that over and have a look at it again. Oh, that's sitting absolutely perfectly, and there's no glue on my teeth of my zip now. So I'm going to go up along here. From there I'm going to go up, and then I'm going to come along here. I'm going to still use my zipper foot, and we'll see what that looks like. But your zipper foot will feel the teeth of the machine, of the zip, so it won't, let me think which is the best. I'm going to do it, yeah, I'll do it that way. So I'm just going to move my zipper foot across to the left, and we're going to go across the teeth of the zip here, so I want you to be very careful with your machine and make sure that your machine is happy to do that. So let's put the needle down, put the foot down, and we're just going to do two stitches and then go back. Okay, and then we're going to come across. That's going over the zip now. So it's about 4 stitches, wasn't it? So I'm happy with that. So foot up, swivel that around. It's all glued in place, so we should be fine. You've got to trust the process. You get fed up with me saying that. And then you're just coming along. As I say, your zipper foot will feel the edge of the zipper teeth. I mean, you could mark where you're going to stitch. Let's just move that a wee bit. You could tack it. Gosh, we don't do enough tacking. I'm not going to guarantee this is very straight. So when we get near to the slider, I'm just going to move that out of the way. And what you don't really want it to do is to pucker when you get to this end. So keep your eye on it. I mean, you could use your walking foot. But do your best, try not to get that puckered. Right, so we're at that end now. So foot up, foot down. And we're going across the teeth, so be careful. And then I'm going to do just a couple of stitches. Oh, it's just past 8 o'clock, I do apologise. Right, so I can't guarantee it's going to be that straight, but we'll see what it looks like. Oh dear. Right, there we are. So you kind of made a sort of a letterbox. It's a bit wriggly there. Wouldn't notice much if it was in red. And then underneath you've got the zip, so you can just pull that as you normally would to put your cushion in. Okay, let's just leave that half open there. It doesn't have a little look there. That might need a little bit of adjustment, but we can do that tomorrow. Okay, so now we're just going to overlock all the way around the edges. So while I'm getting the overlocker up, I'll go to the front camera. Hello. Just move this one out of the way. Now I haven't used this for quite some time, but so I'm hoping it'll be fine. Let's just get the handle. Ooh. Ooh. Heavy little beast. I'll go on the side camera in a minute so you can see. Just get my threads tidied up. There we go. Covered in dust. Actually, it's been in the cupboard, so it's not really covered in dust. And I swear that I haven't got the right foot controls and things for this machine, because it doesn't like this this foot control at all. Right, let's switch it on. See, it doesn't want to work. Have I got that switched on? Yes. Hold on. Well, we'll be well away if we can't get it to work. Is that on? No. It is a dormouse. Bear with everybody. Let me turn that round. I have got a very temperamental... Ah, here it is, it's in. I've got a very temperamental plug. Right. So let's see if it works. Oh, I'll just zoom you out a bit. Just bear with. Oops, sorry, just kicked you. There we go. Don't know if I need to move it or... Let's get it in a bit more. Have it a quirky angle. There we go. Right, so we're right sized together with this. We're nowhere near the zip. If you are near the zip, if your zip goes all the way to the end, this is something that you won't be able to do. So you need to either trim the zip as I'm doing now, so it's not in the way, or well, you just don't want it near the overlocker because you'll break your needles. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, let me show you on the front camera, be easier, is I'm going to, I don't ever use pins. You could probably use clips, but this goes so super fast, as yours would, that sometimes you don't have time. So you've got to make sure, yeah, that's lovely, that your two pieces, your back and your front, fit perfectly, and there's no going back really. So I'm going to put a pin in this side just to hold it, but I'm going to go nowhere near it with my overlocker. Okay, so I'm just going to get the two top pieces really level, and I'm fairly happy with what I'm seeing down here. So I'm just folding back. Let me just put you on the side camera here. So I'm just folding back my seam. Okay, so that's the fold there. There's the zip, look. And I'm going to start overlocking. So we'll see how we get on. Now the overlocker seam allowance, if you like, it's naturally 1/4 inch. Let me remember how to work this thing. So there won't be much trimming off doing. Hold on, get this foot control out of the way. Here we go. Okay, once it starts, I don't think the camera will judder, but we'll see how we get on. Hopefully. Just make sure your edges are together. You want to trim off the least possible, okay? The least possible. And just come off the end. And you can snip that away. So there's the first side done. And then you're just going to lift up the foot and pop it under just so it's grabbed, and then you're going again. And just line up just get the end. I know you can't see it, but I've got hold of the end here, and I'm just making sure that's all lined up. And then I'm taking my pin out now, so there's no chance of me breaking a needle. I don't know if that's flickering, is it? And of course this will go faster. So you can see this is all I'm taking off. And then we're coming down the other side, so lift your foot up again, or you can just lift the front up. This one not so easy, but you can with most overlockers. Just put it in front of the blade. You're not going to cut yourself with that blade, by the way. And then just line up the other end. And then when we get down to the bottom here, I like to make sure that my seams, you see my seams there? I fold those under. There we go. Just let it go through. I'm sure my camera keeps flickering. Oh, it does keep flickering. Oh, that's because of the vibrations. So apologies for that. Right, so let's have a look. Let's put you on the overhead. There we go. So let's move the machine out of the way. So we've gone all the way round, and it's about 1/4 inch all the way round. Now with these ends here, with overlock stitches, they don't unravel, so you could just snip. Okay, with a cover stitch they do unravel, so you want to sew those in. But quite honestly, this is the inside of the cushion. So let's just take you out a wee bit. Oh, that's quite a lot. Anyway, Yeah, so don't worry about the ends on these. If it does worry you and you like to be really super neat, then you're going to get a needle threaded up and you're going to stitch them in. So there we are. So you're not going to trim these corners at all, and it makes a really, really strong cushion. You need to look at your manual, Jill, because they do. I think my overlocker does have special needles, and I'm pretty sure the Singer one does as well, from memory, because the Singer one was exactly the same as the Crafter's Companion one, and that took the Singer overlock needles. There's a special number for them. Do you know what I mean? I can't remember what that is. That's just too long ago. But look at your manual, and you might be able to see in your manual what number it is, because they have special numbers. I can't remember what they are, but they do. Right, so you're going to spend a moment getting those corners beautiful, and those tails on the end of the zip here, they need to be stitched down and made neat, so they're not at the moment. And that is your finished cushion. So you've got, these need poking out, I know that. I'm not going to do it at the moment because we don't have time, but I can guarantee that that's the strongest cushion you'll ever make. It's dog proof. So it's got a lovely border on it, and then it's got this fabulous long flap over, and once you get the cushion inside, I've got a cushion but I've got a feeling it's a bit big. It'll sit nicely on your sofa. Let me have a look. I think that's a bit big. Yeah, I'm not gonna try and shove that in. Anyway, there we are. There's your beautiful cushion. Hopefully you've taken something away from that. There we are. That's what it looks like. And if you use red thread or whatever, it looks so much better. But the great thing is with that zip, it's just going to follow the line of the cushion and sit under nicely. But you could just make an envelope back. It's far easier. But sometimes the envelope backs annoy me because they all split open, don't they? Unless you perhaps put a button in it or something. Anyway, so that's it. That is it. That is the final programme in this run of 12 for the 12 days of Christmas. So I'm glad you came along. I've really enjoyed your company. I haven't seen all of the comments tonight because I've been concentrating so much. But it's been an absolute joy and an absolute pleasure. And I will think about next year, or this next Christmas, sorry. It's not long now, you know. And we'll see what we can come up with, okay? But I think, yeah, anyway, I'm not going to discuss it now. Right, I shall be putting this on, Pippa says she's bereft. All I do tomorrow evening, put your feet up, Pippa, that's what I say. I shall be live in my group about 6 o'clock tomorrow night, because we've got the winners of the Christmas competition where we made the hoops. We put lovely trees and fluffy bits in buttons in the hoops. So I've got 2 winners for tomorrow night, and that's about 6 o'clock. So I shall be there. If you can join me, that'll be smashing if you're a creative friend. If you're not a creative friend, please sign up. It's only £2.50 a month, and we once we get into the year, we haven't done that properly yet, we have a good time actually. We have lives in there, and we make things and we do interesting stuff. So it's a fun place to be, and it's great value for £2.50. Plus you get discount on patterns and things like that. Anyway, thank you all very much for joining me. Thank you for giving up your precious time to watch and to sew along. It's been great, and some of the blocks I've seen are outstanding. They really are. And for those that are really new to quilting, sewing, you know, you've done an amazing job, and there's not enough words to type into the comments, and sometimes maybe it looks a little bit frivolous when I say, oh, that's wonderful, but I'm saying it, oh, that's wonderful, and I can't write any more than that, because that is exactly how I feel about it. So for those newbies, well done for persevering and for perhaps making a block or two. For those of you that are experienced and know what you're doing, well done. Crack on. Let's see some made. Now you know that Making It Special group is a perfect place to post your pictures of your blocks and what you've created. And even if you just do the little mat, then show me a picture of it and share it with everybody else. Right, thanks for joining me. Happy Christmas, Happy New Year, and I'll see you in my group tomorrow night about 6. Bye.